Hello and welcome to the Alabama CPA podcast. I'm your host, Rob Pearson, and I'm delighted to be joined by the unsinkable Jeannine Birmingham. That's the CEO and president of the Alabama Society. Everybody knows Jeannine, and if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't met Jeannine, you're one of the few. So, but everybody loves hearing from you, Jeannine. So thank you for joining us on one of our first podcasts, and even having this idea really comes from you, and trying to, and of course, even having this podcast again is a wonderful thing. Probably the hardest thing was what to name it.
That's right. We did have a little fun naming this, but before we start that conversation, Rob, the profession is grateful to you for being willing to lead this and be our host. We have wanted to have a podcast for a long time. And the board saw fit to say, yep, green light it, buy the equipment, figure out what you're going to do, and let's launch the program. So we're super excited to have you host this program for us.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it because I'm excited about all the things that we have going on here at society, all the things going on in our profession, and talking to Boyd Busby and other people in professions. There's a lot happening, and there's a lot of state legislature happening, and so I think this is a great way to sort of get that word out.
Yeah, and that's what's so fun about being a part of the Alabama Society of CPAs, being part of the profession, is that there is never a lack of something to work on. There is never a dull moment. There are always new issues, whether it's legislatively, whether it's professional issues with our members and things that they'd like for us to do. We are always busy doing something to help our members, to provide value to CPAs in our state.
The workforce development that's going on, we're not calling it pipeline. It's workforce development work. It's even young CPAs who had an event last week, which was a lot of fun, Topgolf, and sort of bringing young CPAs along and helping them. And then, of course, education initiatives, like you've got a big conference coming up at the end of this week. I mean, there's just always something on the plate.
Yeah. The young CPAs, this was their second year to hold the Topgolf golf tournament. And this year we had about 15 students that came from Troy University. So shout out to my alma mater. They were really smart. They organized some firm visits for their students and then took them to network and play golf at Topgolf. And I think they had a really great idea. And I think it's kind of spurred an idea with us, right? So what do we do next year if we want to grow Topgolf into something that really is helping firms or organizations with their workforce development or wink, wink, pipeline
right
issues that they work on.
And they all have them.
We all have them, yes.
No doubt. Well, listen, we've named, because we're CPAs, we're so creative. And, we had to think long and hard, maybe months actually, in thinking about a podcast and what would we name it, being a key question. And we came up with the Alabama CPA podcast because, again, we're very creative people, but we had a lot of great ideas that we really tried our best to sort of figure out which way to go.
We tried to get members involved with this, and we pushed this ask out and said, hey, what's a creative name for the Alabama CPA podcast? And I don't know if we had any members, to be quite honest. We did have some family members that made some suggestions. So, we had probably my favorite, which was the Gap, Grits and Accounting Podcast.
Yep.
And that even came with a tagline of, meet us at the Gap, Grits, Coffee, and Accounting Gadgets. I mean, that was really clever. I don't know who submitted that, but it didn't win. And what do you say, CPA?
Yeah.
Of course, we already do Hey CPA, which is a CPA spotlight that we do once a week through our social channels. So that one didn't work. Journaled and Posted, Conversation and Common Sense, spelled CENTS. But none of them got like a unanimous thumbs up by everybody who was voting on the name. So the Alabama CPA podcast is the winner.
Bureaucracy won out. Let's score another one for bureaucracy. Let's pick the middle of the road. Let's pick that one, Alabama CPA podcast. But it's intended to be, as is this state society, as is CPA profession, sort of the voice of business. We try to be the voice of CPAs. So we want to be very clear about that. And Alabama CPAs, because obviously we're working on a state level, which Jeannine, we want to be able to put this podcast out at least monthly, I think, but certainly as many times, as often as we have news to deliver, because again, what we've heard, you've had surveys now, we've got surveys. Members want to hear that they're relying on us for information relevant to what they're doing. And so this is another way to get that out, I think.
No, I totally agree. We did hold this survey, and we had about 300 plus members take advantage and answered the survey. It was a little long, so we knew that going in, that not everybody likes to take 10 to 15-minute surveys, but over 300 of our members did. And, one of the things we learned, and we have heard this from surveys that we've done in years past, is that our smaller firms, our smaller organizations do have a need to hear from us at a different level. And we do put out a host of incredible resources for members through our website, through our weekly newsletters, magazine, direct mail, and all those channels of communication. But maybe a podcast is something that the smaller organizations will begin to get, accustomed to when we are broadcasting, and save for later if they can't listen to it on the spot, and be able to pick up some little nuggets of information and tools that will help them in their practice or at their business.
I envision most of them not being very long, 15, 20, 25 minutes max, where, even somebody like me who has an 8-minute commute across town through 3 red lights can consume this in my car on the way to and from work, right? I mean, and that's, so we want to make it easy, be able to get information out and make it easy for people to be able to consume it and feel that value that hopefully this will provide. And certainly when session is in, we intend to have, more frequent updates about what bills are coming up in the state legislature that may be of interest to CPAs, and we already know of one.
We do know of one, and I know we're going to talk about that, but I would like just to leave with our members and anyone who's listening and needs some accounting resources, that as we have resources, we will post those on our website, which is alabama.cpa, so that if you want, something tangible that you can download or reference later, we will have those available for members. But yes, we are excited, Rob, because you and Mr. Boyd Busby of the Alabama State Board of Public Accountancy, I think, have championed our first pre-filed bill ever.
HB 59 is now and will be known as the Pathways to CPA Act, pathways plural, because again, this bill will, I guess, for maybe the first substantial way since the year I graduated college, which was 1995 from Sanford, go Bulldogs, where the 150-hour requirement came in.
That's fair. I threw in go Troy. So.
You did. So I had to throw that go Bulldogs out. Thank you for the opportunity. I had to go that 5th year, and for everyone since me, that has been the requirement in the state of Alabama and every other state for the most part, until and you're certainly very active in the ASCPA and NASBA and the different organizations, but there's certainly been a wave to review those pathways to CPA, and everyone's sort of heard from the membership. I think the membership is championing this change as well, where at least as an alternative pathway, going to a baccalaureate degree and 2 years of experience.
That's right. And you're right. You're completely correct about members dictating this drive. So it started a couple of years ago, and Ohio was the first state to be successful in passing language, an edit to their own UAA, which would allow this alternate pathway of a baccalaureate degree and 2 years of experience. And since then, in 2025, about half of the states have also passed a similar bill or modification to their UAA. Mm-hmm. And Alabama, we chose intentionally to sit back and to see what happened in 2025 so that we would know any hurdles that we would need to be prepared to cross when we had our own legislation. And there were certainly some states that had some challenges. But I will say across the country, it was pretty well received because, again, it is somewhat considered workforce development by allowing this third pathway, mainly for students that, they really have a hard time with the current structure, which is the 150 hours total, or bachelor's degree plus 30 or master's degree, which are two current pathways. It's there's an economic factor on that 5th year, which is not just the cost of tuition, room and board for that 5th year, but it's also, a lost year of
opportunity
salary.
cost,
That's exactly right. So this bill was really not looked down upon at any state. So that we saw that as a good sign for us moving forward. Now we're doing a little something different with ours, mainly, and this is getting really in the weeds, so you can pull me out any minute, but we are actually pulling all of our language around education and the requirements to sit for the CPA out of our law, and we are moving it into our rules. And the reason that we're doing that is because, I don't know, in my tenure with the Alabama Society of CPAs, which is almost 28 years, we've had several law changes, and to go before the Alabama legislature with something that's very, very specific to the accounting profession, I mean, it takes a long time to do it, to go through the process, get the bill passed, then do your rules. So essentially, we want to move all of this into rules so that whenever the next thing comes, then we can address it in rules only, and it'll be much quicker. And there's still a process, of course, a regulatory process, but it will just be a much quicker fix if we have to do something different. So our bill is out there, HB 59, and it does set forth the goal that we have to kind of move our language out of the UAA law into rules. And in rules, we then identify those 3 pathways.
We're fortunate to have a great board of public accountancy with the executive director, Boyd Busby, leading that. But that board is just dynamic. And we know this because we interact with other states who, not to brag, but Alabama has a good board, right?
We have a great board.
And so they'll be tasked with setting these rules, and then there's a process. The CPA profession really drives. CPAs of Alabama will drive that. There'll be public comment periods, and then they'll have to go before a legislative review committee of legislators and other people who will review those rules to make sure that the public interest is protected. But to your point, that's a lot different, I guess, than actually having it in the statute. And so we're able to take this bill and to move those things that, again, the landscape is changing rapidly, and it gives Alabama the opportunity to respond rapidly if need be in the future.
That's right.
So we're really excited about HB 59, and we're in the process now. That bill has been pre-filed as of today, being Monday, the 10th. It got pre-filed today. And so we're very excited. Representative Carrie Underwood, known to the locals as Bubba, as our active CPA in the legislature.
Only active CPA.
He is the sponsor, and we'll be looking for co-sponsors on both sides of the aisle to help champion this workforce initiative that we have in the CPA profession. And quite frankly, again, the members are asking for this.
That's right.
That's been our experience anyway.
And shout out to our friend Bubba, a.k.a. Representative Carrie Underwood, for the little casual conversation that the two of us had with him. And when we were just kind of bouncing off, I mean, he knew about the issue, but we were bouncing off the idea of who might sponsor the bill, not wanting to overburden him with another ask. And he said, well, wait just a minute. I will sponsor this bill. No question asked. And so we said, yes, sir.
Yeah. The obvious choice was just too obvious at the time. So, why not me? And I was like, well, you would be the actual right. Anyway, so I'm glad that worked out. Again, sort of as an active practicing CPA, doing taxes, all the things, he wants to see it as bad as anyone.
Right.
And so that's that feedback that we've gotten. And so we'll be in the co-sponsor phase now between now and session starting about the second week of January or so. That session starts this year. We know we want to move quickly on that bill. If the legislature will, we'll ask them to take it up fairly quickly, because there's seniors out there that need to know, kind of what their options are. And we know that the master's degree is a great option, and we want to continue to encourage that. But for those that can't, they may have an additional option.
Yeah, I've had 2 students send me an email to say, hey, I know about this alternate pathway, and is Alabama going to pass a bill similar to, say, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down that conversation and said yes. And then they both said to me, well, I have 120 hours. I have a bachelor's degree and I'm working full time. And I'm trying to figure out how I was going to earn those 30 hours. What should I do? And to your point, we have students who need to know if we are going to be successful and if there's going to be that opportunity for them to have the 2 years of experience and not have to worry about the master's degree or the plus 30.
Mm-hmm.
I think that students will still continue to go down that road. I think there are students, many, many students in Alabama that are scholarshiped and have other resources. And I mean, they would prefer to stay and
Yep.
earn those extra hours while they're at their education institution. Maybe that's an easier path for them. But the reality is that, over the years, we've lost a lot of great talent because of this one rule alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hope is we'll begin to grow our pipeline,
Mm-hmm.
grow our workforce in Alabama, because we'll have more people that will be eligible to sit for the CPA exam and become licensed.
Alabama's universities do such a great job, and we could
Fantastic.
do a podcast on that alone, Jeannine. You
And
know
we
that because nationally recognized as having students prepared for the CPA exam, pass rates are off the charts. It's amazing the kind of work that universities do, and for that, they've gotten a lot of students from all over the country to come to Alabama to study accounting. And so, yeah, we want to be. There's 28, 29 states, I think, from Georgia to California that have already passed something similar to this, but the general premise is the same. It's that third pathway.
Right. Yep, and I'm super excited to see it go. I hope it goes quick. I really hope it goes quick. It'd be so awesome to have this done in January, and we are kind of smooth sailing. It does have an effective date of October 1 of 2026, which is the start of the fiscal year for our regulators, our boards and commissions, so the State Board of Public Accountancy, and that'll be the perfect segue into the time allowed to have some rule changes and get everything ready to go by 10/1.
Really, as soonest we could get it implemented would be October 1st. So I think that timing would be perfect. And again, it's a lot to be excited about. It's a lot to be excited about here at the Society. You've got a big tax conference coming up at the end of this week.
We do. Well, starting tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Staff goes tomorrow, and then all day Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's the Alabama Federal and State Tax Institute. This is a merger of two organizations that held very similar tax conferences. They came together a couple of years ago. The Alabama Society administers that conference. We have speakers from all over the country that comes in. It's 20 hours of CPE and CLE, because we have tax attorneys that attend that as well. And so, being that I've been out of public accounting for so long, I can honestly say, and I was one who was always on the audit side, but I really love these tax conferences because they plain English it enough, especially with case law, so that I can understand everything that's being talked about. And it's a fantastic program.
Well, and with the big, beautiful bill changing a lot of the tax, there's nothing for them to talk about
that
at all.
I'm sure.
I mean,
Well,
and we talked about this a little bit with Paul Perry, and that there's going to be a lot of guidance that already has come out from the Department of Revenue, and certainly our friends at Bradley have helped us with some guidance, and I'm sure.
And at this conference, actually, so our friends at Bradley will moderate a panel of some of the executives at the Alabama Department of Revenue, and it's all about the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and conformity in Alabama. So that'll be a really interesting conversation.
Listen, we've got more conversations to go, so I hope people will subscribe to the podcast and be sure and tune in every time there's a new update, and we'll try to keep you updated. And there is a lot going on, so you may hear a lot from us for a little while, and then for the next couple of months between now and the beginning of session. And then once session starts, there'll be even more frequent updates. But certainly a lot going on here at the Society. Governmental Accounting and Auditing Forum coming up in December. Need to register for that. Anything else on the horizon that I'm missing?
I am sure there is so much, but I just wanted one little reminder. What's the name of this podcast?
Alabama CPA Podcast.
Alabama CPA Podcast.
We got to keep it simple, I think.
I like it.
What is and I asked Paul this question, but I didn't get your answer. Your favorite phrase for the acronym CPA?
I was sitting in here, of course, taking pictures. Car parking attendant, can't pass again. And I think he missed cut, paste, and assemble. And if you remember back to the early days of all of those guides we used to use in our audits, and someone would say, well, just copy that out of, whatever audit guides you were looking at and make those notes to your footnotes to your financial statements. So probably cut, paste, and assemble. My
old buddy Phil Mason, you say cut and paste artist.
I like that too.
That's Jeannine Birmingham. I'm Rob Pearson. This has been the Alabama CPA podcast. Be sure and tune in and listen every time there's an update. Subscribe and review and all the good things that make us feel good about doing this podcast. So it's going to be a pleasure, Jeannine. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Rob.